Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has hidden unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure, or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
Do you ever just stand outside at night and gaze at the stars? I know with all the light pollution, we don't see the stars the same way those in previous centuries saw them. Even so, when I get out of my car on a clear night, if I think to look up, it's an awesome sight. Just to think that each of those pinpricks of light are trillions of miles away, yet they're roughly the same size as our sun and may have planets of their own to warm. It makes you feel so small and insignificant, doesn't it? Yet, looking into a microscope gives me the same feeling. Each of our bodies are made up of trillions of tiny cells that are alive and working in ways that even microbiologists don't quite understand. Both the night sky and the microscope give us a glimpse of who our God is. Bigger than the universe and all of its expanse, yet God of the details in all their minuteness. God revealed this to Abram back in Genesis 15. As we talked about last week, God had already promised to make Abram a great nation, but so far Abram hadn't seen any fulfillment of this. The Lord started out the conversation with, "Fear not, Abram." He knew Abram had doubts. He was afraid of dying childless, yes, but he was also afraid that God was going to let him down. Have you ever felt like that? The Lord had promised Abram great things, a family that would become a great nation, inherit the land, and be a blessing to all nations. God had only asked for one thing, for Abram to leave his father's house and follow him to a new land. Abram had done that, but God had not made good on his promises yet. And if Abram died at this point, one of his servants would inherit everything. Before answering Abram's concern, God took him outside. He said, "Look at the heavens and the stars. Number them if you can." Sometimes getting us to stop our constant motion and busyness nowadays just to look up is probably a challenge for God. But only when we look up can we contemplate who God is and understand who we are in comparison. Imagine Abram meeting God out in the darkness, and God says, "Look up, look at the stars, try to count them." After a pause in which Abram, overawed, gazes at the heavens, which impress on him the glory of God, the Lord leans down from behind him and whispers in his ear, "So shall your offspring be." In looking up, Abram got a fresh perspective, and in receiving that promise, his heart was flooded with faith. The next verse says, "And he believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as righteousness." Abram believed the promises that God gave him were real as the stars, as real as the one who made them, because he was the one promising. As counting the stars was impossible, having a son was just as impossible for Abram. This just wasn't under the realm of Abram's control any more than the stars were. All he could do was believe and let God work. If you look at the timing of events after this, it was still about 15 years before Abram received that promised son Isaac. But I imagine each night when Abram looked up at the stars, he still felt the breath of God in his ears saying, "So shall your offspring be." And he would smile. Do God's promises to you seem out of reach? Try counting the stars, or leaves on a tree, or ants in your backyard, or if you're like me, freckles on your arm. You could even get a fresh perspective by looking through a microscope and knowing God is the God of the details in your life and in your world. Believe God's promises and leave it in His hands. Live expectantly, knowing that He will fulfill His promises in His timing.
As always, we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to share a treasure, support this ministry, or get Carla to speak at an event, please contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.